Hi everybody, it's Julia from Mathis and Travel coming to you again this week from San Francisco, as usual. And today is sort of a serious and near and dear subject to my heart, because as you know, since Friday, November 13th, Paris was hit with their own tragic, horrible terrorist attacks. And, obviously as someone who's lived in Paris, and it's, my favorite city in the world, that was really rough to see and hear about. And it really brought me back to 9/11 when I was actually living in DC and could see the flames from the Pentagon and everything like that. And, no question, terrorism is horrible. But what really upsets me, or really gets me upset, besides obviously the tragedy and the loss of life and just how horrible it is that immediately people in America especially seem to put the brakes on. Everyone, I've got a lot of different agents on different boards talking about people canceling their trips to Paris, or canceling their trips even abroad. They're worried to travel. And this is just the worst attitude. That's ridiculous. Paris is probably more safe than any other major city in the world right now because of the enhanced security, because everyone's on the watch and they're looking for problems. Not going to Paris is like saying I'm not going to go to New York, or I'm not going to go to DC, or I'm not going to go to Madrid or London, both of which had their own terrible subway bombings about 10 years ago or so. So, like I talked about last week with G Adventures, their whole ethos is let's change the world through travel. And it's really one of my near and dear core values as well. And, my favorite quote about travel is from Mark Twain, and I want to read it to you. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely. It goes on. Broad, charitable views on men and things, these cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth for their whole lifetime. And this is so true. If you stay in your home, even your home country or your home area, some people don't travel out of, the Southwest or the Southeast or wherever part of the states they may have been born into. A lot of people don't leave those areas too often, and therefore you just have such a narrow view of the world, and therefore ignorance can lead to a lot of incorrect assumptions. When you travel, you really learn and you really get to understand a different culture, and you learn that different is not bad. Obviously you're not going to maybe go to Syria right now, but you can go to Iran or Egypt. I know people will maybe think I'm crazy, but a lot of people are going to Iran these days and coming back with fabulous stories. I remember when I went to Egypt, it was before the Arab Spring, so it was a bit of time ago now, but one of the first things the group leaders did is they brought us to the largest mosque, I think, in Cairo, and sat us all down inside and really explained to us Islam, the different tenets, the basic tenets of Islam, and really helped us understand a different perspective from all the sensationalist media. And when you go to Jordan, and Israel, I haven't gotten to go to Israel, but Jordan and Israel are really the cradle of civilization, and along with, unfortunately, Syria. And that part of the world is just so rich in history, and there's so much fascinating stuff to see and do there, and you really can't let extremists dictate your life. You learn so much. Same thing with sort of a slightly further east part of the Middle East. Obviously I'm not going to tell you to go to Pakistan tomorrow, but India, just even from going to India, you learn so much about a different culture, not even just Hinduism or Islam, but also Buddhism. And all these different places and all these different experiences really help you understand, that we're really just not all that different. You take all the different travel experts who have come out. Anthony Bourdain is one of my favorites. His show goes all over the world. He's been to Beirut 3 times. He just had an episode this summer in Beirut. Unfortunately, they had their own attack a couple days before Paris, and they are right on they're neighbors with Syria, and so they're under major threats. And tourism can really help boost and help educate people on what the problem is, over there. Help understand the different factions, the different stakeholders over there. Rick Steves, I'm a big fan of his, and one of his big points of of emphasis this year has been travel as a political act. And he did a whole series, I think, on Israel and Palestine. And he really encourages people that when you visit Israel, step over the border and talk to some Palestinians, understand both sides of the story. Even Wendy Perrin, who's a blogger for TripAdvisor. She's their sort of travel expert who recommends different activities, different travel consultants, etc. She has a really great article that really shows you the statistical improbability of you running into problems due to a terrorist attack abroad versus having a car wreck in the States. I mean, she really does a great job of putting it into perspective. And, and then finally, if you think about one of the most inspirational people in the world today, it's, Malala. She is all about education. She is a teenager from Pakistan that the Taliban tried to eliminate as a young girl because she knows that education is the best way to rid yourself of these extremists. And to better your life. And what better way to educate yourself than to travel to a culture that's different than yours? And so it's just something that's really been on my mind lately. I mean, for obvious reasons. And I just really wanted to emphasize to everybody that travel really can change the world. Tourism can combat terrorism. It may be slow, it may be one person at a time, but I really feel that you won't understand different cultures until you can really see and feel, taste the food, see how they interact, negotiate with marketplace vendors. You just don't understand that we're all people. We're all people, even though we may dress differently or believe different things. We're all people and we're all the same. Little kids play together, brothers tease sisters. I mean, all of that. Mothers love their children all over the world. It's universal. And so I don't want people to take these attacks in Paris to be another sign to stop traveling. In fact, I want you to take it as a sign to keep traveling and maybe take that first trip abroad or take another trip or go somewhere a little bit out of your comfort zone to learn about a different culture. So that's really all I needed to say this week. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.